casually speaking into the microphone until I can just casually speak automatically. This video was mostly just my thoughts. Don't expect some revolutionary insights or breakdown. Curious, is it not? Waifus plus guns. I always assumed this genre, niche, was well serviced. I thought my brothers and sisters were feasting. But upon further inspection, unless it's a mobile game, anime third-person shooter seems to be far more niche than I had expected. I couldn't believe that Strinova was the main one, if not the only one. I'm going to ignore Snowbreak for the entirety of this video, outside of this one sentence. I don't know why I thought the success of Genshin and the others meant there were more successes in other genres. Strinova came out in 2024, yet this is all I could find. Truly incredible. I mean, actually I found some other things, but I'm gonna ignore them, like Snowbreak. So putting my tinfoil hat on, I don't think third-person games ever fully figured out what to do with the shooter category. Since Gear's popularization of cover shooting, I remember the disdain people felt for cover-based mechanics in the 2010s. Getting stuck in cover, or sucked into cover, playing whack-a-mole with AI, or just simply waiting in cover like a self-imposed turret section. While at the same time, first-person shooters were getting faster, more accurate, and more competitive, the detriment of my insanity. So I suppose it's possible that Vanquish and Sunset Overdrive were the last true attempts to push third-person shooters. I could be wrong, but I'm going to ignore that. But neither game, as far as I know, picked up enough steam to re-energize the subgenre. Thus, the default for shooter became first-person in most people's mind. Except for possibly people like moi. People who played SOCOM, Ghost Recon, Splinter Cell, Gears, Army of Two, Binary Domain, and other titles. I still yearn for third-person shooting games that aren't Helldivers 2, Space Marine 2, or Remnant 2. No shade. While they are third-person shooters, they don't scratch that itch where gunplay meets third-person perspective and the cover-based movement becomes core. Wudang will probably be the one for me, but that feels more like Splinter Cell X Ghost Recon vibes. But that brings me back to Strinova, and why I don't think it ever really succeeded. Strinova wants, or wanted, to be a competitive third-person shooter. In a world that predominantly believes FPS is the best for both competitiveness and immersiveness. So being a third-person anime game with gacha monetization, Sumi, is more than just a steep hill to overcome. Might as well try and enter orbit to have some clearance from. Strinova feels really good to play. Shoulder aim and scoped aim both feel good. Always appreciate the option to do both. The 2D string mechanic can lead to some interesting fights. I've seen people hop on walls and then jump glide out for fast repositions. It's really cool stuff. But the lack of a crouch option means most fights happen in the open or hallways. There's no chest-high walls to cover yourself in, and cover is placed in ways to not create clutter, keeps the maps looking clean, which means the game lacks cover-to-cover gameplay, which some may see as a good thing. But most players never really learn to play around the cover, and if they do, there's a strong chance they might not like it because of how static it can be, especially when facing defenders that are well dug in. For me, it is a key component of what makes third-person shooters so interesting. Good use of cover can allow one to stealth around the map even, leaving room for doubt if any area is ever really clear. People would call this camping, and I would be inclined to agree in some ways, but in a third-person game, that's kind of the way of the beast, you know? I've said previously that Rogue Company and Veiled Experts were dead, which they are. Well, I'm sure some Rogue Company players would disagree, but it's dead. Another high-rise game succumbing to the potential, man. These games were incredibly fun for me. Very flawed in a lot of ways, but still pretty fun. And solid third-person shooters. They had great, I shouldn't say great, but they had good gunplay. The character kits were interesting, if not benign in some cases, and cover-to-cover gameplay was well done in my opinion. Paired with interesting map locations, like beach resorts, boats, and other things. Matches felt similar, but never really stale, as player input and combination and understanding of layouts and third-person mechanics really meant that things never really got too stale. Except for the few maps that had aggressive choke points, like Rogue Company's fucking Tower Dome. I fucking hated that map. That map sucked dick. Who the hell puts the... No. Not gonna get caught up in that rant. Anyways, those were, for me, ideal third-person shooters. They were also the only ones on offer to me, so, you know. The question remains, can Strinova be an effective replacement? In some ways, yes, but the lack of cover gameplay leaves a lot to be desired in my part. As I'm sure some people will look at this as anime third-person Valorant because of the map design, I can't really fault them. But it's been 2 years since Strinova came out, and like many others, I'm unsure of what the future for it holds. Some say the game just needs more marketing. I'm inclined to agree, but I'm skeptical of how much the needle will really move. Are people ready to latch on to a third-person shooter that asks more of them? Arc Raiders would suggest there's some life, or maybe Arc is just special. It didn't scratch the itch for me either, so I ended up dropping it. But a few 20 hours in, maybe that says something, maybe it doesn't. For anime-specific shooters, Fate Trigger and the recently reviewed Reverse Collapse are what I had my eyes on. But there is one more game. It's a bit off of the grid, and it seems to be stuck in some issues. Unpaid developers being one. Steam says it has 8,000 players, yet its player base seems to be in doomsday mode. We'll see what happens. Okay, bye.
Defenders win!